Right, we can begin, and I've panicked already. So yeah, why don't you begin with your sponsorship bullshit thing?
Oh shit, do you want me to just be really slick and go into it?
I want you to give me your impression of what you think slick is.
Well, I feel like even if I do something slick, you're going to put all of this bit in where we're like talking about doing it slick, which is not slick at all.
Oh yeah.
This episode of Quality Irrelevant is brought to you by Fire! Bored at work? Start a fire. Need to get rid of a piece of incriminating evidence or an annoying pet? Start a fire. Want to get back at a high school chemistry teacher who roped you into his meth cooking business and then poisoned a boy? Start a fire. Everything you own is on fire? Start a fire. Fire. Available now from nature. Fire.
So, do we get like a check for every house fire that happens, or how does this work?
We get a check for every fire that just happens, not by someone else's hand. It can't be arson. It has to just be like a fire starting. Spontaneous combustion, we get a nice kickback from that.
Do we get even more if they're like thinking about us when they spontaneously combust? Then that's like, you know, an offer code or something. So fire knows that we brought them to it.
Yeah, that's like fire.com/quality irrelevant.
Enter code, burn, motherfucker.
Yep, that's exactly what it is like. If someone spontaneously combusts, then it is like burn, motherfucker.
Anyway, this was a really long fucking endorsement/advert.
Well, we love Fire for being the first official sponsor of Quality Irrelevant.
Natural enemy to water. Screw the water, guys. They didn't pay the piper.
No, we plugged their product so much and they didn't cough up a single penny.
So now their competitor, Fire, they're the golden boys this week.
And again, I don't feel like we've got in on the ground floor, but I think there's going to be a sharp upswing in fires. I might be starting some fires.
Do you think this podcast will be played in court?
Probably.
We can now do the intro bit.
Was that? Oh, we have to do an intro bit as well as the sponsorship message.
Not really. We go sponsorship, awkward, clumsy intro, apologise for the clumsy intro, and then preamble, and then the next bit.
That is the refined structure of this podcast.
So we need to begin. So, hello!
Hi!
Welcome to The Thing! We are your hosts of it, the Rapscallion and the Raconteur, and I'll leave it to our viewers to decide which is which.
I don't know either of those words, so I'm probably not the second one.
I just liked the alliteration of the R sound. It was quite good.
I despised the alliteration. It is lazy, and I think we can do better. Alliteration is the whore of the spoken language.
What, because everyone thinks they can have a go?
Yeah, everyone. It's just easy.
And there's no cost to entry?
Well, I mean, that's the opposite of a whore, really.
Do you have to pay them?
As far as I am aware, I have never frequented a hooer, but as far as I'm aware from television, mostly Game of Thrones, you have to pay them at least one small coin.
Of indeterminate value.
I believe perhaps a 10 pence piece would be sufficient.
I always thought it was like a penny or a threepence.
A threepence.
Yeah, what is a threepence? Is that 3p?
You're a threepenny whore. It's probably something that someone has said in the past.
And just as I think we'll need to apologise to the people who are employed in the Lady of the Night profession.
Sorry, whores.
Well, yeah, that's not going to work.
Oh.
I also have to apologise.
To whom?
Well, a bit to you, a lot to the audience, but above all to myself.
Well, I feel like it is about time you apologise to me.
Oh, no. You misunderstood. I am aware that I should apologise. I'm not going to, because of last week. I admit I did wrong, but I'm not sorry about it.
What specifically? I mean, so many things, but what specifically are you talking about that you did wrong?
Well, you made a very accurate observation that I have a tendency, only 7 weeks in mind, and last week it was 6, so only 6 weeks into the podcast, I have already brought in a flurry of new segments and new ideas.
Yep, one every single week, it seems.
I've completely undone my original vision. The rules have gone out the fucking window.
I don't remember the last time we even looked or referenced the rules.
And the structure is verbose and bloated. That is completely my fault. What I think happens in my mind is I get an idea, and then within a very short window of time, I've already forgotten it. Panic, and then put in about like 3 or 4 ideas to fill in the void where that one idea went. And I feel like if I just keep going, nothing can go wrong. But I think you're right. It's time to step back. It's time to simplify, stop bringing these new wild ideas and attempting to infuse so much content into, a relatively simple and casual concept. So I admit I have failed.
Well, essentially what we are saying is that you are allowed one segment. If you breach this number, if you go above or even below this number of segments, then you go jail.
Phil, I think you don't go far enough. When I say I have failed, I think we need to do a new podcast. Start again. This is no longer Quality Irrelevant. Quality Irrelevant is dead. Until I forget about what I'm saying now and forget everything I've decided.
Quality Irrelevant is dead until the next segment, ladies and gentlemen.
This is now the Better Than Last Time podcast. Don't think about it.
I like that title. I feel weird because I think I like that title better than I like Quality Irrelevant.
Well, good, because this is now what the podcast is, and I have 5 more segments to bring to the table.
Oh, God damn it. Can we put you in podcast jail?
I am making a little joke, of course. I'm being facetious. I'm not quite that mad yet. We should scale back.
We should streamline our operation.
That makes it sound like we've put some planning and thought into what we're doing.
Oh, we should hack away the flab roughly with a blunt machete until there's a sort of a messy, bloody stump left.
I really liked the imagery you used there. That was very, very evocative of my current state of mind.
I mean, I know I can't see you, but it is obvious from the tone of your voice that you are currently holding a rusty machete.
Well, it's not that rusty.
You maintain your machete.
It's very blood-stained, but, that's just from where I've been whacking it into this rather large meaty mass that I happen to have near me at this point that I shan't explain.
No, I don't think you should. Let's move on.
Are we going to talk about where we are this week? The story so far, the narrative of our lives up until this point.
I know that last week I was in a canyon.
Have you escaped your canyon with mattress or whatever the person was called?
Mattress?
Isn't that what we call it?
Micro.
Come
on, it was micro.
That doesn't sound right at all.
All right, we'll call it mattress.
So how is mattress doing?
Oh, mattress died a long time ago. We don't talk about that. I did manage to escape the canyon. Mattress's blood did sustain me for a little while. Unfortunately, once I made it out of the canyon and onto the road, I've been abducted.
Oh.
I don't know who by. They seem like they might be robots. One of them, he did claim that he was a robot with the brain of Jimmy Savile.
Ugh, that's a nasty mix.
Yeah, I don't think that's true, but it was a bit scary anyway. So I'm currently, like last week, I'm suspended. I'm in a suspended state. This time I am the right way up. I'm in a sort of, I hesitate to say dungeon.
Oh, snap.
I'm sort of hanging from a pipe in the ceiling by my hands. I have a bag over my head, but they didn't find my secret microphone that I now use to record this podcast. So fortunately, we are able to continue and record another episode of Quality Irrelevant before my possibly robot captors come back and shove a cattle prod right up me.
What is the difference between an android cyborg and like a replicant?
I think only they can use that word, Theo.
Oh, what is that?
I'm pretty sure you've just offended our replicant listeners. I mean, viewers.
How do you know that they're robots, though? These don't really seem particularly sophisticated. I thought they were going to use some sort of, high-tech cell or vat where you were being scanned or augmented, but you're just attached to some dirty pipe in a basement somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I can't exactly tell 100% if they are robots or not. I highly suspect that they're not, because they did just hit me with a spanner while saying, we are robots, definitely. Also, we might be from the future.
Did their humanoid forms look sort of cardboardy?
There was a cardboardy element. There was a sort of upside down dustbin type element. I think one of them might have been pretending to be a Dalek.
That's usually a telltale sign of a fraudulent claim right there, I'd say.
The fact that they were dressed fairly poorly as sort of famous robots from science fiction, film and television sort of gave the game away that they might not actually be robots. But I don't like to make sweeping statements before having all the facts in front of me.
Well, that's very gracious of you, Phil, to give them the benefit of the doubt. And you never know, it could be a last action hero type situation where these entities have leapt forth from the big screen or the small screen.
I did find a magic cinema ticket during the week.
There we go. They could be real. I assume that although they may look dustbinny and cardboardy, I imagine that is just cardboard that if in the film they say is like some alloy that can withstand the death of the universe. Now that oh wait, no, didn't Arnold Schwarzenegger like get hurt and stuff when he came into the real world? Oh fuck it then, they're just made of cardboard and bins. You can probably just like slap your way out of there.
I would, but they sort of surprised me with the spanner.
Oh, well, they still managed to overpower you with the spanner.
I was a little bit dazed from blood loss, being upside down for like 3.5 days on the trot, and also the only liquid going into my body being another human being's blood. I'll be frank with you, I wasn't at my best.
Just because you weren't at your best, you've done well, you've survived.
Oh, I'm nothing if not a survivor.
Damn right. And our viewers can learn a lot from you, like in a sort of a Bear Grylls type way. Like, you know, we can give out some survival tips and tricks that viewers can use at home. Well, not at home, when they're in the wilderness or in a war zone.
Are you introducing a new segment? Phil's survival tip. Drink someone else's blood for nourishment.
That could work. That's a good one. I mean, in all those survival stuff, I mean, I used to think if you caught something, you had to cook it, but apparently not. They just grab like a possum and just bite it whilst it's still alive and just eat, you know, as much as they can before it scurries away. In fact, here's another survival tip. If you find yourself lost, either in a ravine or a woodland of some sort, always remember, make quick and snap decisions and never question what you're doing, ever. You know, there's no time to think.
I think that your decisions should always be based on fear and panic.
Oh, yeah, because those are your survival instincts. Fear, panic, desperation, these will keep you alive. So yeah, if you feel like just running in a random direction, I mean, there must be a reason. You know, why is your body doing that? Listen to your body, that's what they say.
If you feel like lightly scratching at the eyes of a mountain lion, just do it.
You actually get most of your water from food, so you could probably forego water for quite some time, as long as you've got some crisps or something with you, or some popcorn.
Just eating a large quantity of salt will give you all the nutrients that you need.
Yeah, because you need to keep your electrolytes up.
Particularly if you are in the desert. And if you're in the desert, obviously you don't always have salt on you. Sand is a good substitute for salt. So just shovel handfuls of sand into your mouth.
Eat the sand. Eat all the sand. Yeah, no, it's good. It grinds up in your stomach and helps you digest. So it's actually better for you. In fact, we should all be eating sand. 1/2 kilo of sand a day, I'm told.
The boys in the lab are telling me that that is the daily recommended allowance of sand. Maybe in some sort of salad, just so you get your veg.
Oh, and make sure, never tell anyone where you're going before you go, because that means when you don't come back, they're like aware that you're not there anymore. So they can like, you know, steal your stuff, burglarize your house and your partner. So don't tell them that, because I assume that most people in your life are just waiting for that moment of vulnerability and weakness where they can pounce and strike. So if you're going to go away into the wilderness, do it alone, leave at night, and possibly leave some sort of note in your flat to deceive them, say, you know, you've taken a few weeks off. Leave no clues as to where you're going in case they follow you and plunge a rock into the back of your head.
Even if they are altruistic and just want to help in case you go missing, it's sort of compromising your survival. Obviously, you want to prove to everyone that you are strong and can survive. If someone else comes looking for you, everyone's just gonna call you a tiny little little bitch and laugh in your face.
And make sure that all the rope you bring with you, if you're scaling mountains or doing whatever, make sure you pre-cut the rope. You want to cut it as much as you possibly can into medium-sized lengths, I'd say about a hand span, because you don't want to have to cut it in like an emergency. Maybe as soon as you realize you're lost and after you run in a direction that you think may help you, possibly, please, oh God. After you've done that for like half a day or so, sit down and then proceed to cut all your rope until your knife is nice and blunt, because then that'll make it easier to fashion other tools from sticks and such, which are more effective in the woods, I think you'll find. Because metal, wouldn't normally find that just lying on the ground. That's of the city, that's of civilization. Cavemen didn't use that, so it's not going to help you out, sunshine.
And also just one other thing. If you do begin travelling with a partner, a guide perhaps a Sherpa, what you want to do is immediately kill them and feast on their still warm flesh, because you're going to need that energy to just keep going with your survival journey, and you want that energy early.
And as much as you can, like, gorge yourself to the point that you can't really move, and don't take any with you, because it's just extra weight.
I mean, if you can, just do it like sort of on the side of the road before you even venture into the forest, all the better.
Because then other travellers will know, like, there's a man who knows what he's doing. So yeah, if you do it in view of like the road or somewhere.
Yeah, so that is our survival tips.
Yeah, that is, I think, as much mileage as we're going to get out of that idea. So yes, we should move on. Oh God, do we have any more fucking preamble?
You haven't said where you are.
I'm still in the goddamn basement. I love it here.
I've always known that I like to travel more than you do, so I'm not really surprised that you are still in the fucking basement.
I am settling in very nicely. It's a little bit dark in it since the locals kind of worked out where I was, and they tried to crawl in through the little window well that I had. And after I sort of swung violently with a bit of a rebar that I found at the gap as they tried to get in, they just said fuck it and they cemented it in. Any external light is sort of gone. I think they were hoping to seal up all the airways, but there must be a crack or two that they haven't found yet.
Are you sort of quite relaxed because you find that you're inhaling a lot of carbon dioxide that you're sort of filling the room with?
Well, again, I think, Phil, just going quickly back to our survival tips, I think you'll find that if you breathe in CO2, which is the official name that amateurs don't necessarily know, you actually run more efficiently. You can reuse what has come out of the body, like rabbits and bovine. They expel some of their waste and then consume it again. In fact, we can learn a thing or two from this. So actually, the air you breathe out is healthier than the polluted free air, as I call it. No. What you want is your own little factory, your own little closed system. Law of thermodynamics here, you can't actually get rid of energy, it just disperses. So if you have a closed loop, then it all stays in, it all stays pure, and your lungs act like a big filter. So I think I'm absolutely fine.
I think you'll be fine as well. I can't see any holes in your logic at all there, and I don't know enough about science to prove whether you're wrong.
So I am now in what some would call a concrete cell.
Others might call it a modern day tomb.
Or mausoleum.
A mausoleum.
Mausoleum or mausoleum?
Some kind of crypt.
Again, I really want to look up all the differences between these words and find out, but this is not the time to educate.
That's for our other podcast. The Differences Between Things podcast.
Oh, that is a good idea. We need to write that down. We need to get that down quick. The Differences Between Things podcast. That is an idea that has not been done. Quick.
I'm writing it down.
The differences between things. Fuck, we go so far with that. We could put it in the education category of iTunes.
Isn't this podcast already in the education category?
No.
Were you not allowed to do that?
No.
Did someone tell you off for saying that you were going to do that?
Maybe. said it was stupid.
We've been called worse.
I suppose that is true, yes.
On which note, recriminations and sentiments.
I have only a passing one this week, but you go first.
I have 3, as I usually do. It's almost like I write 3 because 3 is a good number. But definitely I have found these online and on iTunes.
Of course.
So, number 1. This podcast will divide the world. Some will revere it and others will revile it. Unfortunately, the ones who revile it are people with ears, a brain, consciousness, and a reason for living. The ones who revere it are the hosts, so they would definitely lose in a big fight. I think that's just true, really.
I mean, they've got our number there. You know, whilst initially I was quite pleased with that, I thought it was quite apt. It felt like they really had connected with us. I'm starting to think that that one was maybe from someone we know. So if you did write that, if this was from Mattress or from one of the locals that have been like scrabbling around outside, thank you, but it's okay. We don't need your pity.
No, I mean, I did like that review, but I did immediately block them, just sort of preemptively.
I think it's a good online strategy that with your audience have a liberal use of the block.
Yeah, and close down all possible avenues for communication and engagement.
Yeah, although I did manage to have a cup and string that the locals didn't notice when they were cementing me in. Sometimes at night I'll just crawl over to the cup and put my ear up to it and have a bit of a listen.
Yeah.
A lot of people sound like squirrels.
That's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, strange. On the subject of sort of low-tech communication, this comment actually came through smoke signals.
Ooh, okay, that's probably a hipster then.
I mean, I didn't really have much to do while I was in the canyon, so I was kind of looking into the sky. I saw some smoke signals, and it just happened to be a message for us, which I think was a nice coincidence. As far as I could tell, I had to kind of quickly scribble down what I believed it meant in Mattress's blood. If this is wrong, person who sent up those smoke signals, then please flap some smoke in our direction to correct me. But I think it said, I was once given a choice between listening to Quality Irrelevant and slowly inserting a fab ice lolly into my urethra. My dick hole has never been colder.
Yeah, I mean, can you read smoke signals?
I can read them, but I can't write them.
Yeah, you couldn't actually pass a GCSE oral exam in smoke signals.
Oh, no. Terrible. Just awful. I don't really have a practical mind. I think that's the way it works.
Going back to the fab ice cream fucker.
Yeah.
He's an idiot. I assume it's a he.
It did say my dick hole has never been colder, so...
I don't know. I still don't think that's enough information, though, Phil. I think you're being a little bit judgmental.
Oh, I apologise.
Yeah, good.
I was going by statistics. I now realise that was wrong of me.
Because, Phil, individuals are not statistics, okay? There are groups, and that's useful. You know, we can learn stuff about groups, but...
I think I knew that once upon a time, but spending all of this time around possibly robots made me forget that.
With the dick hole, how do you remove the sprinkle chocolate bit with your dick before getting any of the white, more creamy layer off before finally moving on to the red layer underneath? Because you've obviously got to eat it layer by layer. So
I'm not convinced it was about the consumption of the fab ice lolly.
I mean, you've got to do these things right. I mean, there's such a thing as etiquette.
I mean, the thing that I am most confused about with that comment was, he says, I was once given a choice between listening to Quality Irrelevant and slowly inserting a fab ice lolly into my urethra. Who gave him this choice? Was it a self-imposed choice? Did they just really want to put a fab ice lolly up their dick?
Yeah, that sounds like a bit of an excuse.
Oh, I slipped and fell onto the bottle.
Yeah, like, oh, it was the podcast. The podcast told me to do it. It was all the podcast's fault. We get so many of those every single week, blaming us for various crimes and stuff, and, you know, some eyewitness accounts that reference me by physical appearance and my actual location.
It's mostly just concerning how often it seems to work. We get convicted of a lot of stuff on this podcast.
Exactly. So our viewers really should know better than to exploit that by saying we told them to go fuck a fab ice lolly. Although, survival tip number 28, if you happen to have that thing where the fish swims up your dick for when you've pissed in a lake, make sure you always piss in still water, by the way. And also make sure you only drink from still water sources, because running water has all sorts in it. You know, like when bears fish for salmon, they get their hair in that, and that's very, very bad.
Yeah, don't want to drink a bit of bear.
Yeah, no. So if you have that thing where the fish swims up your dick hole, a fab will get that out in no time, because who can't turn down a tasty bit of fab? You'll take one look at that fab and be like, right, screw this, I was gonna lay my eggs in this guy's bladder, but instead I think I'll turn around and have myself some of that chocolatey, sprinkly goodness.
You've really gotten into the mind of the dick fish, Theo.
There's an episode title right there.
Into the mind.
Well done. I also like the fact that all the titles tend to be things that you have said, like summarising something I've just asserted.
Yeah. So we also received one final recrimination that I picked up. This one was just an email. I say an email. It was written on a piece of paper, tied round a rock and thrown through my window. Why is this podcast the best
Aww.
at making me want to smash my iPod or other MP3 listening device with a rock and flee to a cave in Siberia just in case these people ever manage to find me?
Well, what we can do there, you know how on movie posters, I saw this the other day, they'll have like a little quote that just says, this film is good... ... or thrilling, when actually the full quote is thrillingly awful.
Yeah.
We could just do that. We could like just take the last bit of that and just have that on the poster.
The last bit?
Yeah, the thing about smashing your head in Siberia or something.
Yeah, that would be fine with me. I've always thought that about those movie poster quotes. You know when it says like, brilliant movie or something. What if the review was a really sarcastic review and it just said like, brilliant movie is what I would say if this was any good, but it is the worst and shit and I hate it and I hate you.
Yeah, right. Fuck all those guys.
Yeah, they're all blocked.
Damn right, even the positive one.
If you want to get blocked, then just say anything to Quality Irrelevant anywhere. We will block you immediately.
Yeah, in fact, is that a strategy to be the most popular thing ever by saying, if you leave us a review, you'll never hear from us again? We promise.
I think it might work.
That is a legit good idea. We need to think about that one. Right, I think I had some recriminations. I can't tell if this is a good one or a bad one, so we'll just go with it. Guess who I bumped into?
Who did you bump into?
I bumped into Cleves the other day.
Fucking Cleves. How the devil is he?
Well, I didn't ask. I just gave him a good kick in the gut and ran on. And he kind of made a oof sound and fell to the ground and was sort of spat blood. It wasn't really a spit. It was more like a bloody cough. He sort of coughed up a lot of blood.
A bit of a dribble.
So I take that as a 5-star review.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cleves is our biggest fan. Thanks, Cleves.
Yeah, that was literally it.
That's all you've got.
I did good this time, sort of, maybe.
Okay, next section.
What do you want to do here? Because I still have my fucking Jurassic Park film review, but you also have stuff that you've brought. So whilst I despise the idea of it becoming a thing, that I keep not doing my review, we can actually postpone it once again for another week.
My contribution to Schemes is it should be a fairly sort of swift thing, although knowing us, that may take upwards of an hour.
As long as it's good. If it's not good, the whole thing will be cut, so...
Alright. Well, I will do my scheme then, and we'll just bump your Jurassic Park review back for another week. Last week, we talked at length about a man called Patrick Fabian.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to just give a quick summary of like what you decided about Patrick Fabian?
Patrick Fabian deserves better. Life has not been kind to this young boy. He's done well, he tries hard, he's a go-getter, and he's had some success here and there, but he's not... He deserves more. Life hasn't really given him his dues yet. So he is a not that well-known actor who's starred in such smash hits as The Better Call Sauls or The Last Exorcism, which is another broken film that I quite like. And I felt like it was about time, gosh darn it, we did some good in this world. So we are going to get Patrick Fabian's career back on track. The golden god shall rise. I was going to say again, but he hasn't really risen before, so he shall arise, he shall ascend. So this is where we improve Patrick Fabian's career, which I'm sure we will do, and no harm will come to him.
Oh, definitely. On the back of that, I decided that I would try and have a little go at boosting Patrick Fabian's career.
Good on you.
But as you and all of our viewers know, I am a very lazy man. I don't like doing the difficult thing when the easy thing dying is an option.
It's hard to overcome that bit of your brain where it's like, don't fucking bother.
You know, when people say, like, you know, you've got to get up and keep riding your bike even though you've fallen off. I was like, fuck that. I can't ride a bike. I'm not going to do it anymore. So leave me alone. So I decided that it's difficult becoming famous, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Do you know what's easier than becoming famous?
Being not famous. Being anonymous.
Becoming infamous.
Is that the title of whatever this is?
No.
What?
I did just write down Patrick Fabian Infamous. It seems like the name of like a stand-up show, but I don't think Patrick Fabian should do a stand-up show. That's not what this is. On the theme of being a lazy man, a lazy man, I very much consider myself to be an ideas man.
Yes.
I come up with ideas. We leave it to the grunts downstairs to think up all of the intricacies, think up the process of actually how to do it. So what I've done is I've just come up with quite a lot of ideas for Patrick Fabian, how he could become infamous. The logistics of how this is going to be done is for someone else to decide.
Yeah, the boys in the lab.
I just came up with 15 ideas for how Patrick Fabian could become infamous. I'm just going to speed through them very quickly. If you want to talk about any of them, then we can talk about them, but do so at the end.
I shall wait.
So, put on £300 and become an interesting and nuanced character actor. Do sex with a much younger woman, but definitely not too much younger, thanks. Display his penis on a prominent Los Angeles billboard for 2 weeks. Punch Tobey Maguire in the dick at all of his movie premieres. Give up acting and tie himself to the mast on top of the Chrysler building for a calendar year. Assassinate a famous baby with a crowbar. Drive a car into the Grand Canyon in an attempt to live fast and die young, except not all that young actually. Game of Thrones. Change his name to Liam Neeson's and hope casting agents get confused. Become a world record holder for largest number of firecrackers eaten in one day. Become a street vigilante hunting for justice in a corrupt world. Take 2 years out and live underground with the C.H.U.D.s. Start a fire in the Big Bang Theory studio. Start a relationship with a convicted felon and turn into a spidered man. So I think those are all good ideas, all things that he could try.
Was it convicted felon and then spidered man?
Turn into a spidered man.
Turn into a spidered man. Fucking hell. I think you've just written enough material for about 3 months worth of podcasting right there.
That was what I wanted to do.
You know, you should be a Don Draper type figure. And that's not a reference, because we're in the Mad Men verse. Sorry, the Ham verse.
The Ham verse.
Yeah, we live in the same world as John Hamm, which is actually true.
We do.
I don't know what his job title is. It's just being Don Draper, man, creative, making ideas in an office and banging women.
I'm pretty sure that's his full job title. Smoking rye whiskey.
Sorry, I thought you just became the Mask there for a minute.
All of these things are on Don Draper's CV, I think.
What, being the Mask?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good. John Hamm should be the next Mask. Anyway, I like to think that you should have one of those jobs where you never go into the office, you're just in a bar and you're just scribbling shit down on napkins like Don Draper's. And then you just literally like cast off the napkin to like a peon or something and they just have to run away. And this is the same sort of setup you wish you had on this podcast, where you've just scribbled some things down and you'd really like to get back to your next martini and you're not that interested in the follow through or the result of any of these things. You're literally just the man who scribbles on the napkin and orders another drink.
Like I said, I am the ideas man. The boys in the lab can figure all of this stuff out.
Okay, guess which one my favourite one was.
My guess is the one about C.H.U.D.s.
Living underground.
With the C.H.U.D.s.
What the fuck is a C.H.U.D.?
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
Oh, I think I've encountered a few of those. Oh, I really offended them. I thought it was C.H.U.D. I kept saying C.H.U.D. at them.
No.
Damn it. It can't have gone down too badly though, because they've invited me over for dinner next Thursday night.
Dinner with the C.H.U.D.s?
Yeah.
That's the name of my new screenplay.
Well, I'll let you know how it goes if there's some sort of antics or... they did ask me to bring an onion, and I won't repeat where they told me how to bring it to them.
I think that's for the best.
Yeah, but I just assumed that was like a bit of a translation issue, because they don't speak our language.
In the same way that I can't write smoke signals, you can't speak C.H.U.D.
Yeah, I couldn't pass a GCSE oral exam in C.H.U.D. but I could be paid to teach it.
You could teach C.H.U.D.
Well, that does seem to be what a lot of people end up doing, that they could never actually be qualified in a language ever at all, but they do just go to a country and teach it for some reason, so I just assume that I could do the same thing.
Yeah, C.H.U.D. as a foreign language. I'm going to write that down. That's another good title.
That's a potential one right there. Yeah, I mean, I would say that live underground with the C.H.U.D.s is a good idea, but unfortunately, Patrick, that's what I'm doing to boost my career.
Sorry, Patrick. Can't live underground with the C.H.U.D.s.
How many famous babies do you know of?
I didn't want to name any.
I guess that might actually be construed as a threat if we actually named individuals.
Yeah, I don't really want to say, like, he could definitely kill this actual baby.
Did we just find the line?
I think we may have found the line.
Not threaten actual babies.
I feel like we're on shaky legal and moral ground if we start advising Patrick Fabian to assassinate actual babies.
Yeah.
If we can introduce it as a general idea of a famous baby that he can assassinate with a crowbar, then I think that's fine.
I like the one where you said he should eat bombs.
Become a world record holder for largest number of firecrackers eaten in one day.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I feel like the world record for largest number of firecrackers eaten sort of over a lifetime, that's just a lofty goal that we cannot hit, and we never rise above our limitations. Firecrackers eaten in one day, I mean, I'm pretty sure the record would probably be like 6.
Oh, so we don't actually know the current record holder.
Unfortunately, no.
Right, world's most bombs eaten. What was it, in one city for dinner?
In one day.
Well, you only have dinner once a day, so for dinner. Watch the US drop 2.5 million tons of bombs on Laos.
I mean, that's just news, so
yeah,
depressing.
That got dark. Oh well. Yeah, you're right. I think it's probably about 6.
Yeah, can't be more than 6. Like, no one's eaten more than 6 firecrackers in a day.
Although, we should just warn Patrick Fabian, he probably will be shitting blood for a few days after we do this.
Knowing Patrick Fabian as I do, I think he'll see that as a small price to pay for lifelong infamy.
I mean, there's no downside to this, is there? I mean, Phil, I mean, these will work, right? These will improve his quality of life.
Oh, unquestionably.
Okay, good. I was just a little bit... there was one here about penis on display for a month.
Display his penis on a prominent Los Angeles billboard for 2 weeks. I feel like 2 weeks is enough. By that point, you've kind of got over the shock value of, oh my god, that is a penis on a billboard. You get people kind of going, oh, it's that Patrick Fabian penis billboard.
How do they know it's Patrick Fabian's penis? Because I was imagining we'd have it at a close-up so they could really see it, like really get a look, like, you know, every little hair and bump.
Oh, it's, I would say, graphically close-up, but there is also some text on the billboard that says, this is Patrick Fabian's penis.
Could we have his face, like, we can probably Photoshop this in, just sort of like leaning in from one side, like almost as if he was bending over and somehow had risen his neck to look upwards at the camera in a kind of weird, like he'd been possessed and his skeleton is being twisted into this weird shape that he can bend down to his own crotch height and then move his head up to face the camera, and he's like smiling and winking just so, you know, we know exactly who it is, because I'm not sure that many people know him by name alone.
I think you're underestimating how much of this billboard is going to be covered by his penis.
Oh, so are you saying that we should go for a profile shot?
I think we should, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of it face on, but profile. Oh, yeah, okay, that could work. We might have to have a delicate conversation with him about aspect ratio, because we don't want to get that wrong.
No. Might also have to have a delicate conversation with him about grooming.
I assume that his secret garden looks very much like the hair atop his head.
I reckon he has a pea shaved in it for Patrick.
How is... Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Right, I think you've copied yourself here on this list. I think you've plagiarised yourself.
When?
Because you've got two here where it's become Liam Neeson and also be a vigilante. Isn't that sort of the same thing?
No, you misunderstand. It's not to become Liam Neeson. He will remain Patrick Fabian in all but name. He'll change his name because he won't be able to change it to Liam Neeson. I suggested changing it to Liam Neeson's. And you sort of just hope that the casting agents just go, oh, we can get Liam Neeson's. And they're like, oh, that's great. He's great in Taken and Taken 2 and also Taken 3 and The Grey.
I love The Grey.
I disliked it.
I like it a lot.
And, they go like, oh, that's a much cheaper price than we would think we could get Liam Neeson's for.
And there's more than one, says one of the marketers.
Yeah, and then he shows up and it's Patrick Fabian and everyone's like, you know what, it'll do. This is a terrible movie about a man who is in a car crash and when he wakes up, everyone has forgotten who he is.
It's a real film.
It's a real Liam Neeson film.
Oh, that is the one. Oh, no, it's spoilers. Okay, spoilers. January Jones gets blown up and it's really funny because she massively fucks herself up. Like, it's totally her fault. And then when she gets blown up, she's like, oh, and then BAM! And she gets blown up and no one cares.
And also the child that they adopted was actually a midget. That might be a different movie.
So I think we've gone through most of these. Become Thelma and Louise.
No, not become. You have misconstrued a lot of these points.
Okay, look, I listen to my brain.
That is dangerous.
I literally have nothing to say back to that, so continue.
It wasn't to become Thelma and Louise. Thelma and Louise didn't drive a car into the Grand Canyon in an attempt to live fast and die young, except not all that young, actually.
That sounds exactly like what they did.
They did it to escape from the police.
From Harvey Keitel, I believe.
From Harvey Keitel and all the men who done 'em wrong.
Who played Susan Sarandon's Squeeze in that? I feel like was that Michael Madsen?
Also Harvey Keitel. He played all of the male parts.
Yeah, okay. I would run away from that, I think. I would drive off a cliff.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on the idea for Patrick Fabian to punch Tobey Maguire in the dick at all of his movie premieres.
I kind of thought he'd already done that.
I feel like someone probably has. Tobey Maguire has that very punchable look to him.
I have to admit, Phil, he sort of looks like he already has been punched in the dick in almost every scene he's in. He has this weird grimace. And, like, he doesn't really know how to emote.
He does always look like he is on the verge of tears.
Yeah, which in my mind makes him not the perfect Spider-Man.
No, because that's Patrick Fabian when he turns into a spidered man.
But it does make Tobey Maguire the best version of what a geek would be like as a superhero. In that he's sort of...
What, constantly looking like he's been punched in the dick?
Yeah, like he's sort of maladjusted, doesn't quite know how to express normal emotions like a human, just turns people off in general.
Realises much too late that it's very difficult to hide an erection in spandex.
God, let me tell you, Patrick Fabian would not have that problem.
Because he's never had an erection.
Oh no, because of the billboard, he won't care. I mean, after the billboard, like, it was like, oh, we can see your erection, mate. Did you take a look at Times Square?
Oh, it's Times Square now.
Yeah, why not? And in fact, we could have a video of it.
Of his penis.
Live cam it. Get the aspect ratio right and just have a live feed.
He literally just has to stand in front of a camera for 2 weeks while it points at his penis.
This will be a high production value, I thought. Like, we get him in a studio, white background, tasteful.
Soft focus.
Right. If we had a bit of an angle, like the bell end bit was sort of in, like, more to the top right, and we saw, like, the trunk, because I assume it's trunk, like, the trunk going all the way down, so then that's more on the left-hand side. So it's, like, facing towards the camera, but at a 45-degree angle, and sort of bending upwards.
Are you going to propose 3D?
No. I was actually going to propose, though, we could have a split-field diopter lens, so that the bell end is in focus, and the balls are in focus. But in between is just, this very tasteful depth of field, and also so there's some privacy here. I mean, we don't want to be...
Oh, you've got to blur the trunk. Come on.
Well, not blur it, but I mean, if you can see every blue, weird little vein in there and potential kidney spot, I mean, we don't want to see those.
We have to get this idea to Patrick Fabian very quickly, because if we don't, then Shia LaBeouf will just do it. And we're sort of just going to be a bit screwed.
Shia LaBeouf doesn't have the balls to do this. Shia LaBeouf doesn't have the imagination to do this. Shia LaBeouf, you hear me, Shia LaBeouf, or LaBeouf. You are not enough of an artist to do this, alright? You don't have it in you. You just don't have the raw creative force needed to express something as pure as this. You stay away from Patrick Fabian, Shia LaBeouf. You stay away from him, alright? And his penis. Okay, we've got this. We've got it handled, all right? We booked the studio. We haven't, but I'm saying we have. It's all in hand, so don't put your Todger where it's not wanted, okay, like normal.
Fuck you, Shia LaBeouf.
I'm pretty happy with this list. The only one I'm not going to address is the Game of Thrones thing, because I think the only thing he could be cast as is like an additional Lannister.
Yeah.
And that feels like, where they add a child to like a sitcom where they're in some sort of living dwelling of some kind, and there's quite a few of them, and they just add like a new member of the group at some random point. I think it's a little bit desperate. The Lannisters, they're full, I think. Unless we got him a bit as like Jaime Lannister's hand model. So, like, whenever Jaime Lannister has, like, his hand is in shot, like, well, only the one.
Spoilers!
Yeah, it's fine. We said spoilers.
Yeah, after we said the spoiler. That's how it works, right?
Spoiler warning. There was a spoiler warning. That's the story, all right? That's fine. He could be in shot for that. Maybe when Jaime Lannister needs to show, like, a nipple. Maybe if Jaime Lannister needs to do something really dangerous, like jump off a horse or something, or jump on a horse whilst it's moving along. We could maybe get Patrick Fabian in there to just, like, take the hit.
I mean, you've gone quite far with this idea. I don't actually remember writing Game of Thrones on that list. I may have blacked out. It seems like I may have just been tired and just written Game of Thrones because I was thinking about Game of Thrones. Because it's not really an idea for his career. It's the name of a show.
We can't take this. We can't take the show. We can't just have it now. Is that what you're saying?
There may be some kind of legal basis for just saying Game of Thrones is ours now, and then that being fine.
I bet we're the first ones to say that.
But I would like to consult with legal before I do that.
They're a bit busy at the minute for all the litigation, but we can give them a call.
All right, fine. Game of Thrones is ours now. Yeah. We own that.
Right. I think we should cancel it.
Yeah. Cancelled now. Sorry, everyone who was all enjoying it.
Because that's what networks do. Ha satire.
Commentary.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. So I think that Patrick Fabian is going to be well happy with that.
I'm pretty sure he is the most famous now.
This is a good launch pad. I want a lot more of this. And be prepared to talk about Patrick Fabian a lot more.
I will bring in 15 new ideas every single week.
That sounds like a terrible idea, but I won't stop you.
We only have one section left.
Thank Christ for that.
Do you have anything for quandaries?
I do, but I sort of have to get in the right mindset.
Okay.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm getting tired. Quandaries. Do you remember what the topic for this week is?
I definitely remember off the top of my head, and I'm not looking at the list. It was supposed to be precision, and last week was supposed to be non-binary, but we bumped it for Patrick Fabian's career. So it's non-binary this week.
I'm going to cut all that bit you said before then, and then just cut it to the bit where you say it's non-binary, because we're going to hide the fact that I fucked up.
I'm sorry, I went behind the scenes there.
Oh, yeah, we saw behind the shroud, behind the curtain.
Pay no attention.
We saw the wizard.
Go fuck yourself. That's a line from Wizard of Oz, right?
That kind of drew attention to it. Yes, there's no place like home. Anyway, non-binary. Now, can you guess what state of mind I was in when I came up with this?
Drunk.
I was not drunk yet.
Conflicted.
I was conflicted, I think, because I was thinking about this, right? Non-binary. That is when we no longer subscribe to the belief that things can be divided neatly. Like there is a line and you're either on one side of the line or the other. And I've been thinking about this for some time, but just as a bit of a preamble to this, I was actually quite surprised to find out that this term is used almost exclusively in reference to the ongoing gender debate that in day-to-day life is not all that ever present. It's something that either people are just kind of not interested in, or people have kind of worked out where they stand on it and aren't really interested in engaging it or harassing anyone or getting in anyone's way. But the few who are very, very volatile and angry people, if you listen to them, this is an explosive debate that happens online. You know, this is wild. Things are being torn down and thrown around, and this is all revolving around the concept of gender, male and female, and whether or not these are appropriate. And don't worry, Phil, we're not going to wade into some dark political waters here. I wouldn't drag you off that cliff. Waterfall? Would it be a waterfall because we're in waters and going off a cliff?
Yes. I have decided it would be a waterfall or an oxbow lake. Sorry, I may have just been naming bodies of water. Sorry.
That's good. You can keep doing that if you want. That would be the end of the podcast. What a way to
Tributary.
end. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, so yes, I had some ideas, but I was like, oh, well, I'll search for what the internet seems to say about this. It's a load of shit, is what the internet says. There are either some very reasonable people who voice their views in a very sort of like, oh, here is a thing about what is potentially happening with some people who are involved in it. And then there's a whole swath of other people who feel like they've been offended or something's being taken from them by acknowledging the existence of other people in the world or something along those lines. Now, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff.
Okay, let's not talk about it. End of podcast.
But what I do want to talk about is how people don't like to be contained as one thing. You don't want to be labelled Phil. You don't want to be told what you are and you're defined as such. You don't want to be told you're part of X group or this group or that group, regardless of how you might feel. Phil, that's not how we treat people.
I don't want to be treated that way.
Exactly.
Stop it, please.
And yet, I sympathise because it is difficult to think in ways that are apart from the traditional way of structuring what you say. And so when you say something is a good thing, inherent in that phrase, there is a concept that, and it could have been a bad thing, and this is how it could be bad. So in order to have a concept of good, you also have to have the concept of bad. And there's quite a in order for the positive to exist, something quite negative also has to exist at the same time. And this can be a problem. So when you define someone, Phil, even if it's an attempt to be positive, you can end up saying some quite negative things about them as well. There's always this negative association with the positive.
I say negative things about you all the time.
Well, exactly. To give an example, this is not a good podcast.
Oh, no.
I think that's fair to say.
I don't think we ever even pretended for a second that this was a good podcast.
But does that mean it's a bad podcast?
Yes.
Shit.
I mean, from all of the correspondence that we've had, it seems like the weight of opinion is not in our favour. I think it might be a bad podcast.
Phil, I think you're being put in a box and I don't think it's good for you. I think you need to break your chains and none of this talk that this is not a good podcast. See, now that is the example right there. I used the phrase not good in order to describe another word, which was bad. Whereas actually, I'm quite happy being a not good podcast. But I'm not so comfortable with being a bad podcast. Do you see?
No.
Well, at least you're honest.
I'm also confused. You said that I was in a box, but then said I was in chains. Am I chained up in a box? Is there a magician putting swords into the box? have I misunderstood what we're talking about?
There might well be. You may be some sort of magician's assistant in this very long-winded allegory that I'm now committed to.
Yes. Don't put me in a box, in chains with a sword through it.
Exactly. Yeah, stop swording your box.
You bloody magician. Get out of here.
In fact, I think maybe we should have some sort of petition in order to get magicians sort of expelled from our nation, as it were, because I don't like what they do.
It also seems as though magicians are the ones who most often put people in boxes. Magicians and morticians, really. Undertakers.
Well, Phil, I don't mean to generalise. I don't want to be the sort to proclaim something about an entire group, but I do have to admit, not all magicians put people in boxes and then chain up the boxes and then put them underwater and stab them with swords. But of those boxes that have been put underwater with people in them and have been chained up and stabbed with swords, all the people who do this are magicians. So no smoke without fire is all I'm saying.
Well, I have to correct you there. Magicians and murderers.
Do they bother with the sword? Seems a bit theatrical.
Sometimes there is crossover between those two groups. Sometimes a magician will be a murderer, as happens on several episodes of Jonathan Creek.
Well, Phil, it is worth pointing this out. Some would call you prejudice and say that's a negative representation that you've encountered in the media. But in this private meeting between like-minded folks, we can say that magicians, they're not really the right sort, are they? And we would be called prejudiced for mentioning the associations they have with murder. They claim that, oh no, that's when something goes wrong. They don't intend for this. They don't mean for this to occur, but Phil, where are all the good magicians coming out and condemning the bad magicians? We don't see that, do we?
No. At this point, I'd like to issue a statement to all magicians who might be viewing this podcast. My statement is very simple. It is just this. There is no need for you. That is my statement.
Hard-hitting words there.
I know. I feel like they have to be said, though.
And, you wouldn't be able to say words like that on this PC, gone mad, liberal, coddling, nanny-ish nation that we now live in.
I know. If the PC Brigade had their way, then nobody would ever say that there is no need for magicians.
And that doesn't mean that we hate magicians. Some of my best friends are magicians.
I met a magician once. I didn't care for him.
No, well, sometimes they do sort of smell and are dirty. They don't wash, I hear. And it wasn't fair when we were censored for saying that.
I don't like to be entirely negative about anyone, but I hear magicians have very big wands, and so that's a good thing. I don't know how you can say I am prejudiced against magicians when I've said a positive thing about them.
It's a positive trait. Never mind that potentially, I suppose if you said that all of them, every single one of them, they all have very large wands, I suppose maybe there is a connotation that their sort of focus is on the external, on the physical, and therefore lacks internal and inward-looking processes such as intelligence and emotional maturity. But, who would say that? The liberal, coddling, nanny state that we now live in, Phil.
I'm not saying that magicians aren't intelligent.
No.
What I'm saying is that their intelligence is a different kind of intelligence.
Yes, it's more of a magical intelligence.
Whereas you or I may have an intelligence that is based on knowledge and learning.
Yeah.
Magicians have a more sort of imaginary intelligence. They are better at doing things that are not real.
That is fair to say. We don't have to be respectful. Last time I checked, we had freedom of speech, do we not, Phil? This is a free society.
Well, you wouldn't think it by looking at some sections of society, stopping us from saying what we consider to be the truth about magicians.
And we distribute the leaflets around the neighbourhood saying the truth about magicians.
We have, I hesitate to call them rallies. I'd like to think of them as parades.
Where we march in unison.
We march in unison, spreading the word about the negative aspects of being a magician.
No, Phil. think you've, what's the phrase which isn't you've tipped your hand, but means that you've made a mistake when actually you revealed your true colours?
Fucked up.
Fucked up. You done fucked up. We don't distribute paraphernalia that exposes the negative sides that definitely exist in magician culture. No. This is about promoting non-magical pride.
Yeah, and I think that's important.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with being proud of being a part of a nation of non-magicians on which we were founded.
If they can have a magical pride day, why can't we have a non-magical pride day?
I am so outraged, Phil. I can't even tell you right now. I am shaking in my dungeon. I can't comprehend this.
I don't even want to bring up Magical History Month.
I mean, God, don't they get enough attention?
I know.
Okay, I saw Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and I did not care for it. I watched it, I gave them my money, but I didn't care for it, so why should my kids that don't yet exist, why should they be learning about the magical in school, nonetheless? In school, I don't believe that any form of creativity should ever be in the schools. It's not what I pay my taxes for.
No, I don't believe we should teach anything imaginary in schools.
How come the magic books are all in the school? Why not the non-magic books that are just as good?
It's disgraceful, honestly. I'm getting incensed just even thinking about it.
Yeah, which is why I like to secretly go out at night and burn magicians I find and hang them by their neck. But don't tell anyone I said that. That's not the image we like to put forward. We like to sort of do that behind closed doors, so to speak.
Oh yeah, there's costumes involved. Burning of pentagrams on front lawns. Sometimes casual murder of magicians.
Yes, I mean, and I believe we're protected under the First Amendment. And if we're ever caught by the police, I mean, again, we're protected by the Fifth Amendment. That's what I've seen on TV.
Yeah.
The good shows that don't allow any magicians on, to appease the liberal, coddling, PC, social justice audiences that they pander to. Where's my freedom?
You see so many things on the news. If there's like a non-magical spree killing, that is obviously mental illness. They're just very troubled. We need to get them help.
They don't represent non-magical people, is what you're saying. No, they are individuals. They have their own individual motivations. They're their own people. They're not associated with any groups or labels.
No, but what I'm saying is, when you see a magical spree killing,
they get it from somewhere.
It's a product of the magical society that those people live in. It's because of the way that they were brought up in a magical family, by magical parents. They went to a magical school.
With their, magical ways of thinking and ways of teaching. And they don't integrate, They keep very much to themselves. And, as soon as, an elephant disappears on stage or something, they all stick together. Even the good ones, and there are some good ones. Not to say that the others are necessarily bad, because remember, this began as a non-binary conversation, so therefore I am just. But, we just need to, weed out, are we allowed to say weed? Gas.
Yeah.
Okay, not gas.
Exile.
To not life.
Yeah, to being less alive.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know where we go from here.
I think we were making a point at one point.
Can we label all of this under the broad umbrella of commentary?
I think we can. I think we're protected under parody laws and lampooning laws. And isn't there something in the Constitution about you're allowed to say some shit and no one can say otherwise?
I think so.
Like if you express your opinion, people aren't allowed to express their opinion that you should shut up, right?
Yeah.
Like I think all magical people are fundamentally, they bring it on themselves, a lot of their problems, when they teleport into a wall or something and they're in half.
Yeah.
Why should my taxes have to go to put them back together and repairing the wall? Who's going to pay for that?
And I mean, they're the ones who make and distribute the potions. So is it any wonder that various magicians out there are addicted to potions?
You know, they choose that life. You've got to look at the numbers, Phil. We're all about the numbers on this podcast. You run the numbers, and I mean, I know it's not a popular thing to say, but more magicians and non-magicians are addicted and use and sell and are all potion dealers. There, I said it. Come break down my door.
This may be an unpopular opinion for all of the, they're known as libtards out there.
Obama-loving, communist, redo, pinko, liberal, coddling, nanny, state, fucking, long-haired, sweaty, occupy this groups.
It's going to be an unpopular opinion with them, but really, we don't want those people listening to our podcast. Their opinion isn't important to us, but I think we should bring back magical segregation. We should split our cities into magical and non-magical.
Exactly, because that somehow fits in with non-binary.
That's about as close as we're ever going to get to like tying something up with a neat little bow. It's just going, because that is related to the topic.
Yeah, I am struggling to find a clever way out of this, but I don't think I can find one. There was something in there about being one thing and not the other. Oh, basically we're going to use the rhetoric of the left to oppress and enforce our own prejudice views and claim we're doing it in the name of freedom and social justice and all those things that are fundamentally good, but actually betray our own bigoted mindsets. And also, by that definition, our podcast is not bad. You can't say that because that is a consequence of language. And we've just seen how badly language can be used when we get oppressed by the magicians. And so you're not allowed to say stuff we don't like.
No, if you say that this podcast is bad, then you are oppressing us with your language.
So when you say it's oppression, when we round up all the magicians and burn them, well, I think you're oppressing us with what you're saying. So who really is the dictator there? God, thanks, Obama.
Yeah, so just remember, if you want to burn a magician, then start a fire.
Yes, we brought it back to our sponsor. Sponsored by fire.
This episode sponsored by fire. Remember to set yourself on fire and use the sponsor code Burn Them Motherfuckers for a chance to get some fire. Fire. Is that an end?
Yeah, that is about as far as we can take that one, I think.
That is an ending.
Yeah, I did actually have a point at one point.
But then we got into being racist against magicians.
I think that'll do, and they can't say otherwise because of oppression or something.
No.
That's a normal excuse.
Had your journal not happened the other week, that may have been one of the most ridiculous things we've ever done on this podcast.
How ridiculous was my journal last week? I can't even remember what it was.
I don't remember. I was in the midst of a horrible caffeine crash at that point. I think I've been more sensible with the caffeine intake this week. I had a small cup of coffee as we started.
There is a trick you can do when you get home and you want to have a nap because you feel tired. Have a very, very strong coffee and then go to sleep, and it wakes you up after 20 minutes. I recently learned that was a thing, and I'm never going to try it because I will probably throw up, piss, cry, and wake up 3 days later because that will not work for me.
Yeah, I feel like you would wake up after 20 minutes because you desperately have to shit.
Ah, fuck it. That's the end of that.